In the heart of Western Europe lies a strip of land, today indistinguishable from the rolling hills and verdant woodlands that surround it. But for over a century, the town of Kelmis, just southwest of the ancient city of Aachen, was the center of one of the most unusual and forgotten geopolitical entities in history, the municipality of Moresnet. The story really begins at the start of the 19th century, following the conquests of Napoleon. At the time, the entire region had been annexed by the French, including Aachen, or Ain-la-Chapelle in French. About 4.5 miles to its southwest sat a pair of scattered municipalities, known as Moresnet and La Calamine. The latter was named after a large calamine zinc deposit northeast of the town. For the French, the perfect person to exploit this was Jean-Jacques Denis, an industrialist and brilliant inventor from the nearby city of Liège. One of his inventions allowed the production of pure zinc on an industrial scale. In 1806, Napoleon had awarded him an exclusive charter to exploit the mines of La Calamine. This in turn was a direct predecessor to the Old Mountain Mining Company and Foundries, the enterprise that would subsequently run the mines for most of their history. The area's newfound resource wealth meant that following Napoleon's defeat, an international conference was held to divide it up equitably. Representatives from Prussia and the Netherlands met in Aachen, but were unable to delineate a border that satisfied both sides. The eventual compromise solution was to divide the area into 3 parts. The Aachen Borders Treaty awarded the western villages of Moresnet to the Dutch. The easternmost villages were awarded to Prussia and renamed Preußisch Moresnet. Meanwhile, La Calamine, or Kelmis in German, along with the adjacent mines, were turned into a neutral municipality. The Prussians and Dutch would both exercise oversight of the area, with the Prussians technically being part of the Habsburg-led German Confederation, but effectively acting as an outside, albeit fellow German-speaking, independent power. Thus, the split of the territory's oversight was between the Dutch House of Orange-Nassau and the Prussian House of Hohenzollern, with no Habsburg involvement. However, both militaries were prohibited from entering this neutral zone. Until future arrangements could be made, the area would use French currency and would retain its Napoleonic-era French law. The primary language spoken in Kelmis was German, oftentimes a Rhenish dialect common to the cross-border areas. The villages to the west were primarily German-speaking as well, but there was an increased French-speaking presence. This became important in 1830 when the French-speaking areas of the Netherlands seceded, along with a number of Dutch-speaking areas and these mostly German-speaking border areas, to form the Kingdom of Belgium. Although the Netherlands did not recognize Belgium, nor give up its rights to equal oversight of Kelmis, in reality the Belgians took over the Dutch half of the agreement with Prussia. Meanwhile, the mine continued to operate, becoming the economic life force of the town and the territory. The status quo would remain for some time, although following their defeat of the Habsburgs in 1866, the Prussians created a new German imperium under the House of Hohenzollern, thus nominally giving Kelmis a new neighbor to the east, though nothing had actually changed, with the Prussian-led German realm continuing Prussia's place in the treaty. As Europe continued to move toward the 20th century, the age of nationalism would come to Kelmis, a complicating factor for an entity that was decidedly not a nation-state. However, this, along with the era's industrial advances, led to a sort of golden age in Moresnet, or at least its most well-known age. One way this was manifest came in the creation of territorial symbols. The district had always been represented by its official seal. However, in 1883 it was given a proper national-style flag, with inhabitants increasingly referring to their nationality as Moresnetic. In 1908, a new seal or coat of arms was adopted with a much more national character, displaying the symbols of the 3 ethnicities represented in the region. Although the district continued to use French currency, an unofficial attempt to create a Moresnetic currency was launched, and the entity did produce and assign value to its own postage. As the neutral territory became more and more of an anachronism into the 20th century, its unusual nature gave it appeal in a number of different areas. Not only did the quadrupoint border become a symbolic location, but it also became a bit of a tourist attraction, both due to the unusual nature of the territory's existence and due to its unique legal situation. There were no tariffs, low taxes, and originally no military conscription, though by this time that only applied to the descendants of the original population, who also did have the disadvantage of being considered stateless. Although the zinc mine had finally closed in 1885, the low taxes and lack of import tariffs or controls saw the area turn into a hub for tourism tourists and for smugglers. The smuggling was also induced by the territory's status as a legal black hole, outside the enforcement jurisdiction of the surrounding polities. This also led to other economic enterprises in the post-mine years. For example, in 1903, after Belgium banned casinos, one rapidly opened up in Moresnet. With casinos also illegal in Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm would eventually force the hand of Kelmis, and the operation was shut down. Likewise, several distilleries opened up in Moresnet, once again defying the oversight of neighboring authorities.
For a while, the territory became home to an Esperanto movement, the movement to create a unified European language.
After 100 years in existence, the situation would eventually be upturned by World War I.
On the 4th of August, 1914, Germany invaded Belgium. With nearby Liège being one of their primary targets, there was fighting in and around the neutral zone, where 143 locals were reported killed. The next spring, the Germans used their presence to oust Hubert Schmetz, the mayor of the neutral territory, for almost 30 years. He was replaced by Wilhelm Kiel, the mayor of nearby Hergenrath and the administrator of Preußisch Moresnet. He prepared the territory for annexation into the Kingdom of Prussia and the German Empire, which would occur on June 27th, ending the neutral zone after 99 years of existence. However, this would not be quite the end of the story, as Germany was of course eventually defeated in the World War. Indeed, after Germany withdrew from the area, the neutral zone was restored. Less than a month later, the Belgians appointed their representative, Liège City Council member Pierre Grignard, as the new mayor. The next summer, when the Treaty of Versailles was signed, the territory's fate was officially decided. Kelmis, along with the German territories of Eupen and Malmedy to the east, were all to become a part of Belgium, and on January 10, 1920, a transitional government was formed by the Belgians to administer what they now referred to as the Eastern Cantons. Grignard would transition from mayor of the neutral territory to mayor of Kelmis, while the transitional administration as a whole was overseen by General Hermann Baltia. What had been known as Preußisch Moresnet was now renamed neu-moresnet. General Baltia then set about organizing a plebiscite, as provided for by international mediation. However, the accepted process was one in which any opposition to annexation by Belgium, which had been awarded the territory by treaty, would have to be lodged directly with the military authorities, thus discouraging the German-speaking civilians from speaking up for fear of potential reprisal. In the end, almost no opposition presented itself, and a path was embarked on toward integration into Belgium. This would occur in June of 1925, essentially bringing the borders to where they are today. However, there was one more sad epilogue to be written. In May of 1940, Germany once again invaded Belgium. They immediately reincorporated the entirety of the Eupen and Malmedy regions, including Kelmis and the former neutral zone. The Germans would then fully organize their administration of the occupied territories on May 29th, which included annexing the rest of Moresnet, or to the Germans, Moresnet, into Germany as well. This time, the Allied takeback would not be so easy, and there was heavy fighting in the area around Moresnet and Kelmis, both during the Aachen campaign and during the Battle of the Bulge. However, Kelmis and Moresnet were largely spared the fate of other nearby towns, some of which ended up being on the front lines and suffered catastrophic damage, such as Saint-Vite. With the Germans finally being pushed out, the area once again came under the control of Belgium, which it remains a part of to this day. In the years since, these historic but forgotten towns, along with other interested parties, have begun to commemorate what was a unique chapter in European history, and making sure this obscure yet important period in their town's history is not soon forgotten. This includes the famous Tri-Point border, which remains a tourist attraction, and which now reminds visitors that it was, for a period of time, a quadrupoint. The town of Kelmis itself has also honored its unique history, and since the mid-1990s has flown a flag similar to that of the former neutral territory, and adopted a coat of arms in tribute to the town's zinc mining past. In any case, the story of the neutral municipality of Moresnet is one of an overlooked yet endlessly colorful 100 years. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, make sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. Leave a comment, leave a like. It really helps the algorithm. Share this video with anyone who might be interested. And make sure to check out the project that forms the basis for these videos at apoliticalworldmap.org. Plus, if you can, please donate on Patreon. Thanks once again for watching. I'm Alex. I am out.